I don't know.
Yeah, I started recording.
Okay, Noha. So let's watch a video and discuss it after that, inshallah. Okay, about the inductive and the deductive approach. Okay. Here is it. And tell me when you can count.
To learn about the deductive and inductive approaches. There are two main ways that we tend to teach grammar, in deductive or inductive way. Both teaching have their pros and cons, and which approach we use when can depend on a number of factors, such as the nature of the language being taught and the preferences of the teacher and learners. The inductive teaching approach in ELT and ESL is a sort of discovery learning that focuses on the student.
So, what does the inductive approach focus on? What does the inductive approach focus on? Does it focus on the teacher or the learner?
Students,
yeah, the learner. Yeah, and what sort of learning is it? It's a sort of discovery. And what do you mean by discovery? Who discovers the information, the teacher or the student or the learner? Who discovers?
The students, the
Learners.
Yeah.
Learners.
Yeah. So here, let's focus. The focus is on the student. We call it a learner-centered classroom. And of course, the learners learn by discovering the rule. We do not tell them the rule. Okay. Please focus because I'm going to ask you some questions after watching, okay?
For example, an instructor might use or show a few examples of grammar points in English and then ask students what they notice. Let's see an example. A teacher writes on the board a few examples of simple present and simple past sentences. The teacher then asks the students what difference they notice in the sentences. The students discuss the differences and maybe even try converting some simple sentences from present to past on their own. A deductive approach is more teacher-centered learning where the points of English grammar are explicitly stated to the student and then tested. Once the grammar is introduced and explained, the students usually complete grammar exercises to become familiar with the pattern. It means a teacher writes examples of simple...
What do we call a deductive approach? Is it a learner-centered approach or a teacher-centered approach?
A teacher-centered approach.
Yeah, so focus please to compare between the two learning styles. So we have the inductive approach, which is or depends on discovery. The students discover the rule. If the teacher writes examples of the present and the past simple on the board, the teacher doesn't explain the rule, but he only writes the two examples on the board, and the students or the learners try to discover the difference between the two sentences. So it's a learner-centered classroom, and it depends on discovery, and the students discover the rule by themselves. But here it's vice versa. Of course, it's a teacher-centered classroom, and let's see the example. How does the teacher explains the rule? Okay.
Present and simple past sentences on the board. The teacher then proceeds to explain the differences between present and past in English. Once the lecture is complete, worksheets are handed out and students are asked to convert simple sentences from present to past. There are clear differences to the inductive approach and deductive approach in grammar teaching. Inductive tends to be more efficient in the long run, but deductive is less time-consuming. Much depends on the teacher and the student. Okay, this is the end, and I hope you like it. Bye-bye.
Okay, so which approach do you think is more effective with our learners? Which approach do you think is more effective with our learners?
I think deductive.
Approach.
Yeah, the deductive or inductive approach. Which one?
Deductive.
Okay, Miss Samia, how can the deductive approach be more effective with the learners? Do you know the meaning of deductive approach?
Yes, Ms. Firdaus. I think when I give a lesson is about past and present. So first of all, I write two sentences. The first one is in the present, and the second sentence in the past. So the students can deduct the rules from the two sentences. I think so.
Are you sure you mean the deductive or inductive, Ms. Samia? When the students discover the rule by themselves, it's inductive, my dear friend. The deductive
This
approach,
is inductive. This is inductive.
this is the inductive approach.
Sorry.
No problem at all. If you watch the video carefully, you will find that. Okay.
Your names are so close, they're confusing.
No problem at all. They are really confusing. Who can tell me the difference or can compare between the inductive and deductive approach in a simple and easy way? And I'm going to give you feedback after that. Who can compare between them? What do you mean by deductive and inductive? Okay, let's compare from some points. The learner, what kind of learner is it in the inductive and deductive approach? What kind of learner is the inductive approach? It's a learner centered.
A learner centered in the inductive approach.
Yeah, in the inductive approach is a learner centered classroom. It all depends on the learner to